All right, buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into some seriously mind-bending territory.
Sounds intriguing. I'm ready when you are.
Perfect. We're tackling a declassified CIA document today, and it's a doozy.
Oh, I love those. Declassified documents always make you wonder what they were thinking back then.
This one is called Analysis and Assessment of Gateway Process, and let me tell you, it's a wild ride.
Just from the title alone, I can already tell we're about to explore some fascinating concepts.
You hit the nail on the head. We're talking altered consciousness, human potential, maybe even cracking open the secrets of the universe.
Okay, you have my full attention.
So this document, it outlines something called the Gateway Experience, which was developed by the Monroe Institute.
The Monroe Institute, right, I've heard of them.
What?
They deal with binaural beats and altered states of consciousness, don't they?
Exactly. And this Gateway Experience, well, it aims to guide people to those altered states.
I'm guessing it's not as simple as just listening to some relaxing music.
You would be right. The document dives into some seriously complex stuff, trying to explain it all through a scientific lens.
That's what I find so interesting about these types of documents, the attempt to bridge the gap between, say, hard science and these more esoteric experiences.
Absolutely. So at the core of this Gateway Experience is this idea of harnessing the power of your own brain, specifically through something they call hemisync.
Hemisync. Hold on, let me see if I can decipher that one is that short for hemispheric synchronization.
Bingo, you're sharp.
Well, I do try to keep up. But in all seriousness, what exactly does hemispheric synchronization entail?
Essentially, it's about getting the two hemispheres of your brain to work together in perfect harmony, in sync.
So like a perfectly tuned orchestra, each section playing in unison to create this beautiful, cohesive sound.
That's a great analogy. And according to this document, achieving that kind of synchronization within the brain could unlock some incredible potential within us.
Potential that's usually dormant or untapped in our everyday lives.
Exactly. We're talking expanded awareness, heightened senses, maybe even tapping into abilities we didn't even know we had.
This is starting to sound like we're on the verge of unlocking psychic powers or something.
Well, the document does get into some pretty mind-blowing possibilities. But before we go full X-Men, they do ground the Gateway Experience in some more familiar territory.
Oh, so they connected to things like what, meditation or hypnosis?
Exactly. They compare it to practices like hypnosis, transcendental meditation, even biofeedback, all these techniques that are known to influence brainwave activity.
Techniques that many people use for relaxation, stress reduction, that sort of thing.
Right. And while they acknowledge these other techniques, what they seem to suggest is that this Gateway Experience, with its focus on hemisync, offers a particularly powerful pathway to these altered states of consciousness.
Okay, so it's like they're saying all these paths might lead to the same destination, but the Gateway Experience is like taking the express lane.
Exactly. And that's where things get even more interesting.
Oh, how so?
Because we have to address the elephant in the room. How do they actually achieve this hemisync?
Yeah, that's a good question. Are we talking about some sort of brain surgery here?
Nothing quite so invasive. According to the document, it's all about sound.
Sound, like music.
Sort of. They use specific sound frequencies, often delivered through headphones, to influence brainwave patterns and encourage that hemispheric synchronization.
Interesting. So it's like using sound to fine-tune the brain, like adjusting an instrument to achieve a specific tone or resonance.
You got it. And the document actually uses a really cool analogy to explain this whole process.
Well, I love a good analogy. Lay it on me.
They say the human mind, in its natural state, is like a lamp. It emits light, but it's scattered, diffuse.
Makes sense. Our thoughts can be pretty scattered sometimes.
But with hemisync, it's like transforming that lamp into a laser.
Focused, intense, powerful.
Precisely. It's about concentrating the energy of the mind, achieving a level of coherence that's not typically present in our everyday lives.
Okay, I'm starting to see where they're going with this.
And where they go next is where things get really wild.
I can't wait.
So we're talking about syncing up our brains, tapping into hidden reserves of power, but then this document throws another curveball, this concept of the absolute.
Ah, yes, the absolute. It's where things start to get really metaphysical.
Metaphysical is putting it mildly. How would you even begin to explain this concept to someone who's completely new to it?
Imagine, if you will, a state of pure consciousness.
Pure consciousness. Okay, that's already a lot to unpack.
It's described as a realm that exists beyond the limitations of time and space as we experience them.
So not just beyond our planet or our galaxy, but beyond the very fabric of reality itself.
Precisely. They're suggesting that this absolute is the source of all creation, encompassing every possibility.
Every possibility. So everything that ever was, ever is, and ever could be.
In a sense, yes. It's a mind-boggling concept, but think of it like this. If our everyday reality is like a single drop of water, then the absolute is the entire ocean.
And we're all just tiny little drops in this vast, infinite ocean of consciousness.
Exactly. And the gateway experience, they suggest, could be a way to reconnect with that source, that ocean of pure awareness.
To experience a sense of oneness, of unity with everything.
That's the idea they're putting forward, this concept of transcending our limited sense of self and merging with something far greater.
Okay, my brain is officially doing backflips right now, but I have to ask, is there any scientific basis for this idea of a universal consciousness, or is it purely a mystical concept?
Well, it's an idea that's been around for centuries, often appearing in spiritual and philosophical traditions.
But what about in the realm of science? Do any physicists or neuroscientists entertain this notion?
It's definitely on the fringes of mainstream science, but there are some intriguing theories out there that suggest our consciousness might not be as isolated as we tend to believe.
So there's a chance that we're all interconnected on some fundamental level?
That's what some of these theories propose, yes.
Oh, wow, okay. We've gone from syncing our brains to merging with the universe in record time. But there's another big concept in this document we need to address. The idea of the universe as a hologram.
Ah, the holographic universe. A concept that sounds like it belongs more in a science fiction novel than a CIA document.
Right. But they seem to be suggesting that it's not as far-fetched as it sounds.
And it's actually based on a real scientific theory called the holographic principle.
So what is this holographic principle, and how does it even begin to explain the universe we live in?
In very simple terms, it proposes that the universe isn't made up of solid, independent objects, but rather it's more like a giant, complex hologram.
So instead of picturing the universe as this giant machine with separate parts, we should imagine it as a massive, interconnected web of energy.
That's a great way to visualize it, yes. And within that web of energy, information is distributed holographically, meaning that every part of the hologram contains information about the whole.
So if you could somehow access the right information, you could theoretically know everything about the universe just by observing a single grain of sand.
That's the basic idea.
Yeah.
Now, whether a grain of sand is quite enough is debatable, but you get the concept.
I think so. But how does this connect to us, to human consciousness, and to this gateway experience we're exploring?
Well, that's where things get truly mind-bending.
You're telling me.
Go on. The document proposes that our consciousness might be like a laser beam, reading information from this universal hologram.
Okay, I'm trying to follow you here. So our brains are like projectors, and the universe is the screen, but the screen is also a hologram.
It's not quite that straightforward, but you're on the right track.
So how does this holographic model explain something like the gateway experience?
The document suggests that by achieving these altered states of consciousness, perhaps through techniques like HemiSync, we can potentially access a wider range of information encoded within this universal hologram.
Information that's normally hidden from our everyday perception.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like tuning your radio to a different frequency to pick up stations you couldn't access before.
So instead of just perceiving the material world around us, we could potentially tap into this hidden realm of information, this cosmic database of everything.
That's what they seem to be implying.
That's a pretty bold claim, but what would you even do with that kind of access? What's the practical application of tapping into this universal information field?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the document doesn't shy away from exploring some intriguing possibilities.
You know, we've covered so much ground already, from brainwave entrainment to holographic universes, but there's one more big piece of this puzzle we haven't quite touched on yet, out-of-body experiences. It's one of those topics that always seems to spark a lot of debate and skepticism. So how does the CIA document, with its scientific approach, tackle something like out-of-body experiences?
Well, they don't shy away from it, that's for sure. In fact, they connect it directly to this gateway experience we've been discussing.
So they're not just saying out-of-body experiences are real, they're suggesting the gateway experience could actually induce them.
They are, and they attempt to provide a framework for understanding how it might be possible.
This I have got to hear.
Okay, so remember how we talked about achieving those deep states of relaxation and brainwave coherence through things like HemiSync?
Yeah, getting those two halves of the brain to hum along like a well-tuned engine.
Exactly. Well, the document suggests that this state of deep coherence could actually allow your consciousness to detach from your physical body.
Hold on, are we talking about astral projection here?
You got it. That's exactly what they're suggesting. This idea that your consciousness, or what some might call your astral body, could separate from your physical form and travel to other realms of existence.
Okay, now we're really venturing into the realm of science fiction.
I know, right? But that's what makes this document so fascinating. They take these concepts that are often relegated to the fringes and try to ground them in something resembling a scientific framework.
So they're saying that with enough practice, anyone could potentially learn to astral project, to have an out-of-body experience using this gateway experience.
That seems to be the implication, yes. But they do emphasize that it's not something that happens overnight. It requires dedication, discipline, and a willingness to push the boundaries of what we typically consider possible.
And a good pair of noise-canceling headphones, I'm assuming. But seriously, are there any risks associated with these kinds of practices?
They do mention potential risks, emphasizing the importance of proper preparation and guidance, especially when exploring these more advanced techniques.
So it's not as simple as just slapping on a pair of headphones and blasting binaural beats while hoping for the best.
Not quite. They stress the need for a careful and gradual approach, acknowledging that these experiences can be quite intense, even disorienting for some individuals.
It's like they're handing us a map to a hidden treasure, but warning us about the booby traps along the way.
Exactly. They want to ensure people approach this with a healthy dose of caution and respect for the power of the human mind.
This entire deep dive has been quite a journey. We've gone from brainwave synchronization and altered states of consciousness to holographic universes and the possibility of astral projection. My mind is officially blown. What's the biggest takeaway for you from all of this?
You know, for me, it's the sheer scope of imagination displayed in this document. It really makes you question the limits of what we think we know, not just about the nature of reality, but about the potential that lies dormant within each of us.
Absolutely. And whether you believe in every claim or remain skeptical, it's hard to deny that this gateway experience, at the very least, encourages us to think outside the box, to explore the uncharted territories of our own consciousness.
It reminds us that we're capable of so much more than we often give ourselves credit for. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, some of these seemingly far-out concepts will one day be accepted as commonplace as we continue to unlock the mysteries of the human mind and the universe we inhabit.
It's a tantalizing thought, isn't it? To think that we might have the power to reshape our reality, to transcend our limitations, to tap into this wellspring of infinite possibility. And on that note, I think we've given our listeners plenty to ponder.
I have a feeling we'll be hearing more about this gateway experience in the years to come, and I, for one, am eager to see where this rabbit hole leads.
As always, we encourage our listeners to do their own research, explore these ideas with a critical but open mind, and most importantly, never stop questioning. Until next time, keep exploring the outer limits of knowledge, and remember, the truth is out there, waiting to be discovered.